Chapter 7. Why do we need higher doses than the RDA? The recommended dietary allowance, RDA, is an estimate of the minimum daily average dietary intake levels that meets the nutrition requirements of nearly all 97 to 98% of healthy individuals in a particular life stage and gender group for bear survival. The RDA does not convey the actual amount for a human being to thrive or even be optimal, as it was designed originally to maintain prisoners. Due to this confusion, and likely a number of other factors we will dive into with the chapter on the mineral crisis, most Americans are already deficient in multiple nutrients. And the reality from studies demonstrating this deficiency is likely worse than they point out, as those studies reference RDAs, which were established to determine how much we need to avoid an acute disease state. The RDA is not the amount we need to promote optimal wellness and longevity. And while the science has evolved, the nutrient guidelines and recommendations are often 20 to 30 years out of date. For example, the RDA for magnesium in 1997, based on average weights, for a male is 166 milligrams, female is 133 milligrams. Today, the male is 196 milligrams and the female is 166 milligrams. In 2021, researchers pushed out the RDA, and the new RDA would become that female need between 470 milligrams to 530 milligrams, while males need 575 to 660 milligrams. Furthermore, RDAs are for bear survival, and they do not even consider biodiversity. When we look at diet and nutrition alone, our current system completely fails to take into account the bioavailability of these nutrients, i.e., the portion of nutrients that are absorbed by the digestive tract into the bloodstream. For example, the amount of calcium in a serving of spinach does not mean you'll absorb 100% of it. The bioavailability of calcium is only 5%. This is caused by oxalates. Of course, it is more complex than that. Many micronutrients need to be converted into their active or usable form for use by the body. Look, nature knows best, but because many supplements and vitamins are made artificially, the body cannot even absorb a small fraction of them compared to their counterparts in nature. Many nutrients require other nutrients to synergize with, be absorbed, and utilize. For example, magnesium is necessary to absorb vitamin D. If you are not taking enough magnesium, it will lead to vitamin D deficiency. Also, there are nutrient inhibitors and anti-nutrients that affect bioavailability. For example, as we mentioned above, in spinach and other vegetables, there are oxalates that inhibit the absorption of nutrients. So while our protocol is higher than the RDAs, you can now see how limited the real-life application of RDA is to people. And to be clear and upfront, there have been no studies on higher dose copper, iodine, boron, or magnesium used together. We do reference several studies and explanations on their safety and benefits in their respective chapters, but if you are looking for mainstream studies and support, this is where you should get off the ride. It would be surprising if there are ever any studies pushed out. Imagine someone spending tens of millions of dollars to study a solution that would not only derail a large part of mainstream medicine, but provide a solution that is without profit. Call me skeptical, but the rational expectation and logic are that it will never happen. The relevant and practical question we need to ask is whether it works or not. Knowledge or speculation about how something works is not particularly useful in determining whether something works. It either works or it does not work. This is an essence of simplicity. It works or it does not. However, knowing how something works or believing how something works can influence how well something works. In drug studies, placebos often produce efficacy rates of 30% in the control group, which usually require the drug company to establish efficacy rates of 35% or higher to achieve approval. What this means is that belief is comparable to drug efficacy in its ability to ameliorate disease processes and alleviate symptoms. The power of belief is worth cultivating and should not be dismissed as fringe science. Acting in concert with one's beliefs, knowledge, and values can be a positive means to establishing the natural healing process of the body and mind. That being said, There are a few points worth noting. First, copper is rarely toxic in acute doses. These doses need to be in the 10 to 20 gram range. This protocol is around 20 to 50 milligrams, though it would be about 40 to 70 times RDA. It would require 200 times this dose to be toxic. And even if we assumed a lower toxic level of 1 gram, that would still be 20 times the highest dosage in this protocol. Iodine, surprisingly, has less clear data on its toxicity. Reportedly, fatal doses vary from 200 milligram to more than 20 grams of iodine, an estimated mean lethal dose of approximately 2 to 4 grams of free iodine. Unlike copper, iodine usage can and has been effectively measured. Several physicians have written and pushed out their own data and theories with real-world applications. Even though our recommendation is nearly 50 to 100 times RDA, this level of supplementation has become more commonplace, and in the following chapters, we will explain the risks and how to avoid some commonly known issues that can be avoided by supplementing the cofactors. The data on boron is much more straightforward. Potentially dangerous high doses, not even toxic, of boron are to believe those above 15 to 20 grams per day for adults, above 2 to 3 grams per day for infants, and 5 to 6 grams per day for children, depending on their age. However, many studies find minimal or no toxicity at these levels or even higher. Our protocol is a mere fraction of these. So then the next question is, why push these limits to higher dosages? Well, clearly the RDAs are only sufficient for bare survival. We need tools to fight the ever-growing number of deficiencies, toxins, and stressors we face today. We know, for example, that you need more than a few milligrams of copper per day in order to move beyond the body's needs and begin to detoxing chemicals such as fluoride and bromide. At what point exactly this happens depends on your deficiencies and needs. Ultimately, the purpose is to empower our bodies with the tools via enzymes it needs to protect the body and repair our body. And we are suggesting this, yes, well above the RDAs, but significantly lower than toxic levels. We see these simply as tools and processes that have evolved for hundreds of thousands of years in our bodies to protect us. And the best part is the protocol is scalable. So you can and should start low and slow and see how it works for you. For example, even if you decide never to go above 5 to 10 milligrams of copper, your body will still benefit greatly. Now, let's look at why we need more than just food for these minerals and cofactors.